Hello everyone and welcome back to another GTA Online guide, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Oppressor Mk II, a motorbike, if you can call it one, added as part of the Afterhours DLC in GTA Online, so let's take a look at it, shall we? So for the price of almost 4 million, you get your hands on a successor to the already infamous Oppressor. This time the bike gets a vortex engine and a full set of wings and a hover engine to boot, allowing the Oppressor Mk II to fly around indefinitely, a lot like a broomstick. It won't be long before we get the Hogwarts DLC where all it is a bunch of tryhards playing Quidditch. Anyways, the bike itself doesn't really come with much customization options as far as aesthetics go, just a vortex engine which makes a minor change to the look of the engine. But the bike can be outfitted with countermeasures as well as the option of one of 3 weapons. But before we get to that, let's take a look at how the machine handles and goes, shall we? So despite being a hover vehicle, the Mk II is actually pretty nimble and agile and is able to take corners at pretty high speeds. You can take off at will, and the bike even comes with a booster which can help it get to its top speed in less than half a second. The only problem with the booster is that it sucks so hard it's almost pointless. The boost is so pathetically short, and to charge it back up again you have to decelerate the bike, which means bringing the bike to a stop at times. You can charge it up even faster than normal by holding down brake and going into reverse. Riders of the Mk II will have to carefully plan when and where they charge up their boost, but as I said before, the booster is so underpowered to be given a second thought, so I wouldn't really worry about it. One annoying thing that I found about the Mk II is that when you're flying in the air, either stationary or flying forward, the bike naturally loses altitude at the rate of about a meter per second, and it makes it difficult if you just want to hover in place. The Mk II cannot simply hover up and down as it's not technically a VTOL aircraft. You kinda have to awkwardly turn around and fly in a direction to pull up and regain that loss in altitude again. Also note that while flying, the Mk II cruises at a much lower speed than when the bike is hovering across the ground. So if you want to get to your destination faster, you're gonna have to stick low to the ground. Speaking of speed, let's see how fast the Mk II is against some other examples, shall we? I think it's safe to say that the Mk II is pretty darn fast, at least from a standstill, but if you have a fast enough vehicle like a supercar, you should be able to simply outrun the Mk II if you happen to have one on your tail. While the Oppressor is good at flying horizontally, vertically the bike can't really go up or down at a decent speed, which is something to keep in mind if you have people nearby with an explosive sniper or homing launcher. Speaking of launchers, it won't take much to take down this bike, and even if it could take an explosion, the rider certainly cannot, so it's pretty clear that you're very vulnerable when riding this thing. Speaking of vulnerabilities, weapons! The stock Mk II comes with ordinary machine guns which are but can be switched out with either a homing launcher or a front cannon. The cannon has a pretty slow rate of fire and can be pretty difficult to hit your target when flying through the air. However, on the ground, with its pretty good effective range and easy controllability of the bike on the ground, I can see the cannon being pretty effective against on-foot players so long as you're on the ground with them and your aim is on point fast enough so that the player can't counter-attack with a minigun or something. But for taking out vehicles, unless the vehicle you're chasing after is non-armoured, I wouldn't really recommend the cannon as its damage per second is pretty poor and will more often than not leave you open to a vehicle mine or drive-by weapons. For vehicles, I would highly recommend the use of homing missiles as these things are very easy to use while on the Mk II and their tracking is also pretty darn good. There also doesn't seem to be a limit as to the amount of rockets this thing carries, at least as far as I've seen, so spam away to your heart's content. So is the Oppressor Mk II an overpowered deathmobile? Well, against vehicles, definitely, but against people who are on foot, this thing isn't so good. Here's some footage of me trying to shoot a human-sized object on the ground. The main problem with the Mach II is its inability to fly properly like the Oppressor Mk I. It has a very fixed angle in which it can fly either up or down, making it very tricky to aim where you want to fire. I guess if you practiced using this thing non-stop and got used to how it flies and even managed to find a fixed point as a reference to when to start aiming downwards, it would probably be a pretty effective weapon. But even then, there's just so much that can be done as a counter-attack against the vehicles, so it's pointless. One cool thing I like to do is ride the thing up the sides of buildings by flying into them like so, pushing downwards when I make contact, and then I boost so then I start climbing the building. It can also be a good way of doing stunts with the thing, like doing loop-de-loops, which is normally impossible through normal operation. So is the Mk II worth the asking price? Well, for a fast vehicle that can go places where literally no other vehicle can go, then this is a pretty good buy if you're wanting to have some fun. But as a piece of hardware intended to bring doom and destruction to a free lobby server, although it is pretty good against vehicles, I personally don't think it's going to be a free mode destroyer. But what do you guys think? Do you agree? Let me know what you think in the comments, and hey, if you enjoyed this short video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Pyround Gaming channel for loads more videos coming to you very soon. See you around, folks.